Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you to our webinar on Meet Your New Infographic MVP. So certainly appreciate you carving out time today. I know that you all have a lot of things that are going on and trying to figure a lot of things out. So we wanted to set this webinar today to speak with Rick Perko. Rick, you want to go to the next slide, please? So Rick and I are in two completely different parts of the country, so we're working through this virtual world as best we can. But many of you may already know Rick, but Rick Perko is the CEO, president, and founder of Scoreshot. So just a really great company located in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and we've recently signed a partnership with them. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Keith Womack. I'm the president of Presto Sports. Joined the company just over 2 years ago, and great group of people that we have here. I'm actually based in Dallas, Texas, and coming to you from my home today. Rick, you want to go to the next slide for us? So what we want to talk about today is really infographics and how that ties into our all-in-one vision that we have. So many of you that are on the invitation list are here because you're familiar with our box out solution and the partnership that we announced with them about a year ago. And unfortunately, that was one of those cases where I think everyone went into it with the best of intentions, but it was a case where we never could quite get the integration to be delivered. So as part of our all-in-one experience, that was something that was very important to us at Presto Sports. We want a solution that saves you time, that's integrated so that you're not having to remember how to log into 5 different systems in the middle of your very busy game days. So we really are focused on an all-in-one experience with that. And so part of what's driving us to introduce this partnership is, what we're hearing is the engagement through social media continues to be important. I think all of us are still getting our updates on what different players are saying in the NFL or what different commissioners are saying throughout the league through Twitter and other social media forums. So that's very powerful for our fans to get that as well. As a practical matter, these times mean that we're also seeing that budgets and staffing is not increasing. It's not going to increase, most likely. If anything, it's going to decrease. So we have to be very cost efficient and cost effective in the way that we approach these solutions. And we believe we found that with Scoreshot. And an integrated solution saves you very valuable time. I've seen there's a thread with several SIDs over who's the captain. And I think the last I saw, someone had 19 events occurring in one day that they were responsible for. And how a person does that, I don't know, much less do that and publish to social media and write stories. So we're trying to find everything we can to shave a few minutes off of your day and help with that. So that's why the integrated all-in-one experience is very important to what we're doing. Hey, Rick, could you go to the next slide for us? So, I mentioned that we have a new path forward. So rather than looking back and looking at what did or did not happen over the past year, what we're really focused on is how can we make this a better, more positive experience. So, when our partnership ended, when we got that announcement last week, we very quickly reached out to Rick Perko and the team at Scoreshot and really said, let's find a way to make this integration. And I have to tell you, it's been a phenomenal experience. What I know of Rick and the team that he has there in Fayetteville, North Carolina is, they have a great culture. They're highly focused on being innovative, inventing new systems, finding ways to solve problems. And they've really come up with a great solution in Scoreshots. And I was really impressed with what it does. For us, integration is the key. That's one of the huge things for us. And really within hours of having that conversation last week, Rick and his developers and our development team got on the phone together and started talking about how can they integrate. I think they've got a call also going on right now about that same topic. So it's something that we're very heavily focused on. Our plan is to deliver this integrated solution to you in the next few weeks. So right now we're operating on a June timeline of having the integrated solution in place and having that available for you. So we recognize the benefit that has, and so that's why we're moving very quickly to get this done. It also shows that we have a great system for integrating. So we have an API that exposes as well as the schedules and the rosters and the stats. It also has the ability to pull other things such as stories, which we're using with from now on. But with this, we're able to share data very quickly and seamlessly between our systems. And just a little bit about Scoreshots, and I'm sure Rick can go into a lot more detail. But some of the most impressive things for us was the fact that the video support is built in. And I think he told me almost every infographic could have video. May not make sense in some, but video is something that's very important to what they've built in their product. And as part of that all-in-one solution for us, video is very important to us as well. It has over 400 templates, and 400 is a phenomenal number. But when you start breaking down, you have signing days, and you have different sporting events for men and women. You have conference events. You have schedules. You need a lot of templates from that, and you need the ability to launch those very quickly. So that's a really great system, a part of their system as well. It's also very easy to use and intuitive. I was able to pick it up very quickly after just watching it a couple of times. And I would say it has a great blend of what I call speed and flexibility. So it has the ability to tweak and manage most everything. But if you're in a hurry and you just want to get a stat out or a graphic out very, very quickly, it gives you that power and it looks phenomenal. So that's really a great thing to see in this solution. So I think with that, Rick, I'll turn it over to you and let you drive the demonstration and take it away.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Keith. Appreciate that very much. And glad to be with all of you. Just a few preliminary comments. I think that we're aligned really well at Scoreshots with Presto, and a lot of the attributes that Keith mentioned that are important to Presto are also very important to us. And we've certainly entertained and considered various partnerships over the past year or two, and this one just makes so much sense on so many levels, and I hope that you all will see that as well. So really, my task today is really just to spend 10-15 minutes and get you familiar with Scoreshots, what it does, how it works, and maybe the how it works is the most important, because it then allows you to have so many more options within Scoreshots once you know how it works and how it operates. So with that said, it's important for me to take just a few minutes and show you what we call the back end, show you the gears of how it works, because again, that will explain so much about how the platform works. So everybody who has an account with us has something that's called team settings, and it seems rather innocuous at first, but there's a lot of power built in here. So we've got our team logo and our team name in here, and the reason we put those in is because this gets to a little bit of automation. Any template that you pick will automatically come with your logo and your team name already embedded. And again, this is the back end. We're not creating here, we're just showing you the gears. And then we have a location to add your Facebook and Twitter accounts here on the back end, and we do that so that you can publish directly to an unlimited number of those accounts on the front end. And because Instagram doesn't play nicely with third parties, we have a phone book solution. So it's a one-step integration to Instagram. You can type in any number of phone numbers. You can send a graphic directly to your phone, and then it's just that one step to Instagram. And then the last thing I'll show you on this page for now is the team colors. You want to add up to 3 team colors and an unlimited number of additional colors in a quick palette. For the 3 team colors, you've just got to add a hex code or RGB value. And then the reason you do that is so that your colors will populate any template that you picked. So by the time you open up a template, your team colors, your logo, and your team name should all be embedded. Again, a little bit of automation to trying to make the process as smooth and quick as possible. The other part of the back end is the media library, or we can call that sometimes our asset library. And this is where we encourage all of our customers to place their assets. You don't have to do that. You can bring in an asset from a thumb drive or your desktop. But if you've got more than one person working on your account, then this is a safe and efficient way to go. So we've got media that's divided between photos and videos and logos. Those are the 3 primary areas that folks will use. And just to show you real quickly how we populate logos, we have a stock library with every four-year college logo already in place. So if we, here's our logo library, you can see we've got a lot of random sort of generic logos. But if I wanted to go to, if I wanted to add a logo, I just go to our stock library, and I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to go to the colleges, and I've got them all divided up by division. If I go D1, and I'll go to, well, I know we've got some schools that are in the Ivy League, so they probably in a different, right down here. So I can open up the Ivy League, and I can say, okay, I want to add, here's Yale, one of our partners. All I have to do is click on the plus button, and I get a check mark to say that's now been added to our logo. So I can go back up to the logos, open up the stock library from this side, and you'll notice that Yale is included. So it's really easy to add all the opponent logos that you could possibly want in any division. We do have green screen cutouts available as well. I won't focus on that extensively at this time, but we have green screen and blue screen cutouts available. This is where you would load those. And we have an automatic roster importing tool as well that I may get into in a few minutes, but you can essentially add your rosters one time and then with one click of a button, populate an entire template with your roster. Okay, so that's the back end. Those are the gears, the team settings and the media library. And so now we can go into how this actually works and presumably the simplicity of it. The one variable that we constantly balance is how to make Scoreshots more feature-rich every day while keeping the usability as simple as possible. So there are any number of things we've developed that we haven't included because we haven't figured out the best way to make it simple yet, but we're working on that. So on the dashboard, you'll always see the most recent templates that we've created. And you can see we've got something for your phone that we've just added here in the last couple of days. We've added some graduation templates to recognize graduating seniors. We're about ready to add a player profile to sort of drill down into that further. And we've got a coach profile in here too, as well as a messaging opportunity for items related to the coronavirus. So we're constantly working templates, and that the 400 that Keith mentioned is probably a bit shy even. I think we're over 450 now in terms of the number of templates that we've got. And so to make that enormity of templates simple to access, we've got some filters, and you can filter what you want by 18 sport categories. And you can just kind of cycle through here to find what you want. We're always adding more of these. You can also filter by the chronology of the event. So we start with a game preview and go to starting lineups and in-game and post-game and player performance and game stats. And we've got a bunch of other categories here that are a little bit more generic in nature, but I think equally important: quotes and polls and standings and schedules and brackets and signings and so lots of things. Then we have an additional category that has some fancier elements to them, which I'll get in and show you a little bit of here in a few minutes. My basic goal, though, is to show you how to create and work with the platform. So we're supposed to be in baseball season, so I'll filter baseball, and we'll get all of those baseball templates, and then I'll filter additionally by game previews. And you'll notice that we'll get a variety of templates that we could use for a baseball game preview. You'll also notice that we have all the shapes you could want. We have the rectangle, we have the Insta story, we have the squares. And so we have something that's going to work really for whatever platform you've got in mind. So, and from here, it's just picking whatever you want and having it blow up and click create. And this takes us to what we would call our canvas. And you'll notice, as I promised, that we've got our colors, which is primarily is purple. We've got our logo, and we've got our team name. We're working on further automation now, which I may get into in a minute, but we're trying to get to a point where we can completely automate the creation of a pregame template using CSV files. So that's perhaps something for another time, but an indication of just how deep we're sort of drilling down into making this experience as simple and powerful as possible. So when we come into this creation canvas, we've really just got 3 steps. We've got to add a background. We've got to add some graphics, which would be logos. and we've got to add some text. And then there's a more button here that I'll show you that opens up things like motion graphics. And before I go to add a background, I'll just demonstrate real quickly that we can resize any template for any specific purpose or any custom purpose. We do have folks that use Scoreshots for items like web banners and video boards, even print. We see some folks having some success with that. So we are, again, constantly interested in the ways that people are using Scoreshots, and we salute all of them. So let's go ahead and create something now. So we want to add a background, and we're going to get that background. Here's where the back end and the front end meet. So we want to get that out of that media library that we had talked about earlier. So if I want to create something for baseball, I'm just going to open up the baseball folder, and we'll grab something out of that. These are all photos that you would have loaded in yourself. And I'm just going to grab a simple image here, click on it, and automatically populates into the screen. So it's very fast. The most that we typically see done with images or photos would just be the use of filters. There's a lot more that you can do that are in this menu item here, but you can play around with the filters, and that's what I'll do for a minute, and just get some different looks that you want. And if I click colorize, it's going to grab our secondary color, so it stays brand centric in terms of your team colors, your logo, etc. So I'm going to leave that as is. That's the first of the 3 steps. We've now got our background, and typically the whole creation process, once you spend a little time on it, is probably 3 or 4 minutes to create something from scratch. So if we go over to graphics next, we'll see that we've got a place for logos. Ours is already in there. You can see we've got a place for says sponsor and opponent. We can add as many logos as we want as well. So it's just very simple to go right back to our media library and into our logos folder. I'll open up one that's called sponsors and drop it in Coca-Cola. It'll populate in the upper right. And then when I go back, it's going to just tell me I've got one logo left to add. And I'll just grab the first one on the list here, the Bears. Now, something that's great, I think, about the flexibility of our platform is we can grab any of these logos and we can move them, and we can stretch them, and we can rotate them, and we can really create any look that we want from the default position. This particular template has got some pretty well predefined areas, so there's probably only so much we want to do with it, but we can, again, modify any of those any way that we want to, and get the result that we want. And that flexibility is, typically very, very helpful. So we can add logos here as well. This is also the step if we wanted to add a cutout, where we'd add a cutout by just browsing the library that we have, and we can add a cutout and remove the green from behind the cutout, and it just populates directly on the screen. This one doesn't belong in here very well, but for purposes of demonstration, we can come to the remove background tool, and we can just use the slider, and all the green will disappear. And now we have this athlete who's ready to be layered in or added into whatever scene we've got. That works for green screen and blue screen, and we're working right now pretty hard on an overall background removal tool so that you could also remove the entire the sort of mottled colors you get behind an athlete, the crowd, and everything else. Hoping that that'll be ready to release in some capacity by this summer. And that we think that would be a really terrific addition to add as well. But again, we've got to find an elegant and simple way to do it. So that's really the graphics. Now, anytime you make changes in here, we also very much encourage you to save a template as a custom template. And you can name it anything that you want. We could call this baseball preview. And then this template is saved. I'm going to cancel out of this for now, but this template is then saved on our dashboard so that we don't have to next time pick a template, pick an image. If we like what we've got loaded in here, we can save it at whatever state we'd like and then pick it up from there. So that just takes us down to our text field, and text is very easy as well. You can easily add a piece of text by just clicking on one of these items on the left. The text always appears in the upper left in the color gray, so you can see it on a light or a dark background. And again, like logos, you can grab it, you can stretch it, you can rotate it. You can do pretty much anything you want to with text. We've got all the tools that you could want, we think, in terms of bold, italics, underline, justification, font spacing, probably about 100 different fonts, as well as the font sizing as well. And then to type in here, it's just as simple as grabbing a piece of text, highlighting it, and typing it on your keyboard. So it's very easy to do, as long as I spell correctly here. And again, with any of these fields, you can grab the ones that you've got. You can rotate them, stretch them, do whatever you think is going to make it look better on your end. You have so much flexibility built into this. Probably the most popular sort of fancier tool that we have is the stroke tool, where you can grab a piece of text and you can highlight it or outline it, I should say. So I could grab any color in my color palette, including my secondary brand color. And again, we like to use sliders for a lot of things, so you can add a little bit of an outline to the word versus, or to any of the words that are in here. So again, there's so much flexibility and customization built into this. And that's one of the reasons why we have this save as a custom template, so that you don't have to go ahead and make these minute changes each time. So for a lot of folks, this is sufficient. They've got an image they're ready to share, and then you would end up sharing by hitting the share button, of course. But I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of these items under more. You have a variety of items that are in here. Under elements, you've got the ability to add shapes, and we see in trophies added quite frequently. You also have the ability to add textures. We have a texture library here that we're actually working on adding to. So some of them are more overt, some are a little bit subtle. You can kind of play around with them and test some of these out and see what kind of results you get. And then the most popular part of the more menu item are the motion graphics. And we've got 8 in here right now, in addition to the ability to add motion, everything from fireworks to confetti. And it's as simple as just clicking on one of these motion graphics to get the result. So our goal is to make it look like you've got a fancy staff behind you. So my computer might be lagging here momentarily, but we do have smoke working in the background there and billowing up. And I can clear that effect, and I can try another one, sparks or embers, and we can see that operating, just fine. So you have the ability just to kind of click on and click off any of these graphics. So I'm going to go ahead and hit share at this point. And this is what gets us into what we call our sharing protocol, which is a fancy way for just demonstrating the different ways that we can now use this. So one point to make is that if I had kept the motion graphic on here, we'd have a render about 15 to 20 seconds, and then it turns it into an MP4 video. But we're just going to we're just going to share the image as is. So we can now do various things with this. We can download it if we want to put it on our desktop to email or to do something with. This is where we'd hit the download button. Here's send to phone. So again, I can hit all these numbers and it would go to all of them simultaneously. And that gets us one step to Instagram. And because we have the automatic sharing with Facebook and Twitter, we can do a few more things with them. So we can schedule. We can pick on the calendar here, anytime within 30 days. So if I want this to go out tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., I pick the date, and then I move this little clock widget around to find the right time of day that I want. And make sure you click AM as opposed to PM. We have some things going out 12 hours early or 12 hours late now and then. But I'm going to cancel out of this because I want to see it now. But that's how you'd actually schedule anytime within 30 days. And then here is where all of the back end pages now show up. So I can, if I want to click to these 2 Facebooks and these 3 Twitters, I can select all of them, and it would, the post will go out pretty much simultaneously to all 5. But I'm just going to grab one Facebook and one Twitter. That will certainly demonstrate well enough. We can actually add a message, and we can even split the messaging between Facebook and Twitter, and we'll keep track of your Twitter character count here. So if everybody's got, maybe a different handle on Facebook than they do on Twitter, so you can be cognizant of that. But I'm just going to post without a message. Click next and click share. And now we've been able to do all of this work, including the communication and sharing, without ever opening up another platform, which again becomes a time saver. Just the thought of downloading something and re-uploading it to a site can take some time. So we can go to the various sites and we can demonstrate that it's here and it showed up and it's looking the way we expect it to look. Same will be true with Twitter. Well, I guess I'm on Microsoft Edge. Okay, well, let's give this a whirl and see what happens here. So there it is, and it's looking just the way we would want it to look. So let's go back to our dashboard now, and really just want to highlight a couple of more items. We could certainly stay in here longer, and we'll certainly be happy to take questions. But one of the things I want to demonstrate as well is how the video integration works. It's really quite simple. As Keith said, you can put a video into any template you want. It's just that there are certain templates you wouldn't want to put it into because they're used for different purposes. So if we go into creating a post again, and I've still got this baseball game preview selected, which is fine. We can pick any template. So if I just I can grab the same template, click create, and it's going to open it up. Again, the interface is exactly the same. There's nothing different. And we're going to start in the exact same step. But instead of photos, all we're going to do is click down and hit videos. That's it. And as long as you've got MP4 videos loaded in here, then you've got exactly what you need. And again, the internet seems to be running a little slow here, but let me pick something and see if I can get it to load in and demonstrate at least a couple things for you here. Yeah, so let me load in actually I'll grab this baseball one right here, see if I can get it to load in. So here's a short 8.5 second video, and just loads right in. And now, it's a great tool because now you can edit right on top of video. So you can, with Scoreshots, you can publish up to 30 seconds of video. And that's just something we set arbitrarily. We could make it a minute if we wanted to, but our customers have told us that 30 seconds is the right sweet spot for now. We could load a video in here that's longer than 30 seconds, and then we just have to use this trim bar to pick which part of the video we want to show up in the post. And the video will start, even the 8.5 second video I've got in here will cut off at 6.5 seconds like I've got picked here. So you just have to be able to load in an MP4. You have to be able to use the sliders we've got, and that's really about it. And then again, we think the great part about this is you can edit right on top of video. So we can come over here, we can add an opponent's logo, open up that library, we can add it in, and all the same attributes apply. So we can move anything around that we want on top of video and make whatever we feel like making. And so it's a great way to work around the barriers that come with some of the other fancier tools that we've all probably struggled with and may still struggle with in terms of editing video. So everything works exactly the same. There's no difference. We can even add motion graphics to video, although it's sort of overdoes it in my mind a bit. But other than that, it's just hitting the share button and everything works. Again, there's absolutely nothing different here. So I just want to demonstrate how to load in a video and how easy it is to use. And then let me, I talked to you earlier about saving a template as a custom template. And so those appear in your custom folder. And so here's, for example, here's a variety of templates that we've saved. So here's one right here that's going to look a little similar to what I just showed, as long as we get that to load. So here's a saved template. It's already complete. So all we really have to do to this template to get it to work for the next game is to deselect or delete one logo and add another. And the program knows exactly where we are, so we can add another one. And then all we have to do is type in the game information that applies to today's game. So I can just come in here and type in April 28, 7 p.m. and at home, and now all we have to do is share. And so we really took a 3 or 4 minute creation process down to about 30 seconds if you tend to save a template and like to use it. I won't go through the rest of the sharing protocol. So I'll just exit back out. There's one other thing that I'd like to show you, and take just a moment or two to do that, if that's okay. So I showed you this other category here. We have some pretty unique, fun things that are in here. We have family packs, which are templates that all go together for a given event or a game. And whoops, I need to get rid of the baseball game preview. Sorry about that. Let me do that first. Now we're into the family packs. So you can see family packs come, they're all similarly themed templates that will take you from the beginning of the game all the way through the end of the game with some scoring events and other items. So these are super popular among our customers, and we get a lot of really good feedback on these. We're making more of them all the time. But what I wanted to show you was widgets. Widgets are templates that have different numbers of drop zones, if you will, to handle things like schedules and starting lineups and rankings. And so what I want to show you here is just one of those and how it works. I'm going to grab a scheduling template here that's popular. So what you'll notice is when we come into this canvas, it's going to have one extra step associated with it. And that's going to be the step for the number of drop zones for logos. As soon as our internet speeds up here, we'll have it load in any second, I think. That is going quite slow. Let me just see if triggering that again will help us. All right, let me just try that one more time here. Okay, they loaded in more quickly that time, and hopefully we'll get a good connection out of this. Okay, so here's this template, and when we click create, I think it's going to pop up this time. It did. It's going to start with 15 drop zones. And in other words, it's an ability to put in 15 different logos. And we do have a little bit of internet slowdown, but there it is. But most of us, let's say we have 11 football games, so we can come up here and we can change the number of logos that we have in place. And so I can just drop that down to, looks like the control, still waiting for this control to pop up here. Here we go. It is coming. But you can change, with the click of a button, you can change the number of drop zones that are in here and also modify the spacing of the various logos as well, as I'm kind of showing you now. And you can really kind of get whatever number you want out of these. It seems like it's the internet is kind of slowing us down right now, so some of that we won't be able to show you, but you can basically get a sense of the way that there we go. It's just being a little bit temperamental right now. But you can change the spacing, the number of drop zones, and get whatever result you want out of it. And that's true again with all of the starting lineups, the rankings, the polls, the schedules, whatever it is that you want to do, you can modify this to get the result that you want. And it really allows us, again, it's a way to keep a lot of flexibility built into the system, because our goal is to make sure we have a template for every possible scenario that anybody can imagine. And if we don't have it, we'll build it. So let me,
Rick, Rick, if I can pause you for just a second, I had a couple of questions that came in that might be applicable to what you're talking about now. But One of those is, are you able to do any of this from a phone, or is the expectation that you're using a computer?
No, it's a great question, and should have mentioned at the beginning, but this is all compatible on your phone, tablet, laptop, desktop. For your phone, we don't have every template enabled on your phone because some of them can be quite delicate and involve a lot of typing. So we really got the simplest ones available by phone, the game previews, the final scores. We've got other sorts of greetings and recognitions that you can do. And so all those are loaded into the phone.
Okay, great. So you can use a phone, just not for everything, right? So,
correct.
Yeah, another question really comes down to integration, and maybe that's something we can spend a couple minutes talking about, but the specific question is, how much of this will be in the Presto Sports backend, and how is it being integrated? So I'll start, and then Ricky, you can take over from there. But one of the ways that we're looking at, or the way that we're integrating this is, excuse me, in the current workflow, just as you had the 4 graphics or 3 graphics from Box Out, you would go into the sport, and then there's an option to choose the infographic. From there, you would select the data that's going to be incorporated and publish the graphic. The way this is being built now is you'll still be in that sport, and so the data is specific to the sport. But as you're going through this, the workflow is that you'll first choose the sport, then you'll choose the data that you want to be passed into ScoreShots. And so if it's a roster or player bio information or all the stats, all of that can be passed. Anything that you have in your Presto Sports system, whether it came from StatCrew, Daktronics, anything that you're getting the data from, NLS, anywhere that data is coming from, and that can be passed into ScoreShots. Then the ScoreShots, everything that you see here is being integrated into the back end, so it's all part of that user interface. And basically, once you pass the data into ScoreShots, you're essentially dropped at this point in the workflow, right? Right, Rick?
Yeah, and I would even go. These are some of the statistics-based templates that we've got, by the way, that can read data from third parties. But we're trying, and that's what the integration effort is toward, building something called an iframe within the Presto framework, so that the experience that I'm showing you here will be something that will be significantly, if not completely, replicated. It takes us a little bit of time to work on some of the integrations here, but that's exactly what we're working on, is so that everything that I've shown you here is something you're going to have available to you through the Presto site.
Okay, great. So question of, can you give access to every team and coach to use the system? And I think that goes a little bit into the licensing, but I mean, there's different numbers of users that we're allowing in the system too, right?
Yeah, and so here, maybe this is an appropriate time to pull this up.
Sure, go right ahead.
Yeah, it does talk about, we have a couple of tiers here, 3. And you'll notice the Pro package and the All-Star package have unlimited teams and posts. And so the way that it works is that there's one, what we call super user or account holder. Then that person can sign up anybody else he or she wants to be active within ScoreShots. We've just found that we have so many high schools and colleges and pro teams that want a lot of people to have usage, even if they're for fairly nominal usage, maybe only during a week or a month. And so we just didn't want to be too restrictive on that. The only package that's got a restriction is the 5 seats of the small college package and more limited templates there. But we encourage that. We want as many people active on our platform as possible.
Yeah, great. So yeah, we try to keep the pricing very similar to what you're accustomed to if you're using our current infographic solutions. But really, I think you'll find on the small college package that's significantly more and a fairly nominal increase on that. If for anyone that's currently under an agreement with us, we'll honor the pricing that's in that agreement. So we're not going to give you a price increase. We'll still honor that, and that's just something that Presto Sports will eat that difference. So we think that's certainly reasonable considering this change that's taking place. Let's see. Can you add specific fonts that are used for branding purposes?
Yes.
Custom fonts.
So over on the team settings, I didn't go this far down, but there is a place to add in your own font right here. We've got a bunch in here. Just upload a new font. It's got to be a true type font. So we can help you convert it if you need it, but you can certainly upload your own font, and then that font will show up in the most frequently used fonts. We've even got user permissions in here as well for those that are interested. You can restrict if you're the super user, the account holder, and you sign up other people, you can then from that point through user permissions figure out which templates you want to give them access to. You can restrict the colors so that they can't go off brand. You can keep maybe your 3 primary colors as unchangeable, and then you can also restrict what pages they can post to. So we've got some additional restrictions built in here that will help keep your, everything that you do very brand centric.
Okay. So another question of how do the stats from the Presto system integrate? So I walked through that, but essentially any stats that are in your Presto system, you can then basically pass those into box out. I'm sorry, into Scoreshots. Slip of the tongue. You can pass those into Scoreshots, and that data is available to use whether it's a schedule or an individual player stat or anything. It's just a matter of you'll be able to choose what actually gets posted. Can you pull a starting lineup or schedule into the graphic? And so I think the answer to that is yes. Go ahead, Rick.
Just of a quick demonstration here. If we grab the starting lineup, and more of them are going to load in here in just a minute, but we got kind of a slow connection, so I'm just going to grab. I'll grab this one here. It's got 11 in it, making one feel like it would work well for football, but as I'm about to show you, if we can get this to pop up here. As I'm about to show you, you can actually modify the number, but you can also then, so you could make it 9 if you want to use it for baseball, but then as long as you put in a lineup on the back end, you can now come in here and import a roster, and we're going to show, let's see, the 69 New York Jets, the last time they were good, and there's their starting lineup with one click of a mouse, and then everything else works exactly the same, so that you just come in here and add a background and graphics and text. It's all the same. So just one click of a button will allow you to enter it. Now, we're shooting for automation of this, even on the entry side, on the back end, where you can enter in your roster just with a click of a button there as well. So it's a fairly seamless, simple, and accurate process.
Okay, great. Does the Scoreshots logo show when posting? So is your logo embedded into the graphic?
Not unless you want it to be. So the answer effectively is no.
Okay, great. So there's a question about about SID help and this integration. So that's something that we're talking about as to how quickly we can do that. By June, we'll have this integration with the Presto Sports backend, and then we're talking about how quickly we can do that for SID help. So how many graphics, photo, video are for the $1,500 option?
So that's everything.
Walk through this.
That's everything. You get all 450 plus templates. So you get it all. You just have fewer seats, less storage, and there's actually there's some advanced motion graphics we're making that won't be available in the Pro package. That's not listed here yet, but the primary differences go with the storage and the number of seats, probably the two biggest ones.
Okay, great. Let's see if there's a couple that we're just answering directly. Todd asked, what graphics do you have for conferences? So do you have conference logos and things of that nature, I think is the question.
Yeah, we're really proud of what we do for conferences. And I would say that we work with, I think, 29 or 30 conference offices right now across all divisions. And the reason that we have so many is we've created, they're really, they use a lot of templates that are in, well, first let me start with player performance. We see a lot of usage of these. So these are your player of the week, player of the month. For some reason, we're not getting a complete loading of all these in. I think it's just taking some time with the slowness of the internet of not here, but we have a number of templates. Let me try one thing here. Get rid of these widgets as well. And that'll probably help us. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we have, these are all what we call player performance. So you'll notice that we have a lot of players of the week, players of the game, sort of templates that are built in here. Some that don't require images at all, others that do. And so we see you have the ability to scale this up to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players because, for example, in soccer, you might have an offensive player, a defensive player, and a goalkeeper. So you have a lot of options in this capacity to highlight players. Here's another one that's very popular. We probably have 8 or 10 of these that are used across our platform. And then the other area are just the widgets themselves, because you have the ability to set up so many different sorts of scenarios. You have the ability to set up conference scoreboards and conference schedules. So if you look at something like this is a widget-based template where you have, I think we
Well, I think we lost Rick there. That was interesting. So hopefully he'll come back. I noticed there was a pop-up on his screen that his battery is running low. He may have lost his laptop there. So hopefully he'll come back in just a minute. So I'll take a moment and answer a few questions while we're waiting on him to come back. But so Steve asked, so is the goal to be able to use photos or videos we import into Prestos for each sport to be available in ScoreShots, or is it just schedules and rosters? So a big question, a lot to unpack there. So initially, it's a data integration. So we are sharing data between the Presto Sports system and the infographics that are in ScoreShots. That's phase one. Also, as a part of that, the graphics that are produced can be shared on your website as well as social media. So you'll have the graphics, whether they're video graphics or just static graphics. You can place those into your website. So that's part of our phase one integration. So it's a two-way integration. As we go forward, we're finding ways to export the video out of Stretch and drop that into ScoreShots. And so there's a lot of capabilities that'll be coming to light over the next few months. But the initial integration that we're rolling out in June will have stats that are going into ScoreShots, and then graphics that'll come out. Graphics are short videos that are coming out that you can put into your website. So hopefully I answered that for you. So I'll let Rick discuss the number of seats. We may have to just follow up offline with that once he's able to get back online. But we'll get you the details on the 5 gigabits of storage. It should not be a problem. So the way that those graphics are being stored is they're stored inside of that system as well as being published into your Presto system. Hey Rick, looks like you're back with us now.
Yes, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I'm back up.
Okay, great. Well, one question or two questions that came up. So one is, how often does the 5 gigabit or gigabyte storage limit fill up? And what do you do in those cases?
We have had very few situations in which that has filled up. And so quite honestly right now, if somebody gets close to that limit, we just bump them up a little bit. We'd rather not, necessarily hit somebody with a higher fee to go up to the higher platform. So that's typically what we do. And if somebody has a sense that they're going to add significantly more than what 5 gigabits will hold, then we probably would want to upgrade them. But we've had very, very few people come close to that 5 gigs.
Probably more like what we do. We use it for planning purposes, just so that planning purposes and the people who use an absorbent amount, which is generally the rarity. So, and so one question that Stephen asked is, by 6 seats, does that mean that there are only 6 logins in the different packages that you have?
Yes. Now you can share those with others as well, though. So if you only have 6 logins, but you can still make those available to more than 6 people.
So you could create one for the basketball team, share it with them, and they have access to just the basketball or some of the basketball elements, as you were showing us earlier.
Well, they could have access to everything in that sense, whatever they want to have access to in terms of our template library. Because what we find occasionally is someone will find something in football that works for softball, and so we're fine with our customers finding templates in one category that might apply to something else than what they originally had in mind.
Great. Well, yeah, I think we're almost out of time, so we've got just a few minutes before the hour. But certainly want to thank you, Rick, for taking the time to share with us today. There's a few questions that we have that we're just going to take offline. We'll respond to those over the next day and make sure to get those back to you. But certainly want to be respectful of everyone's time. So again, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Rick, for sharing. I think it was very insightful. Definitely a lot your solution does. We're very excited about this partnership and rolling this out. Anyone who has an agreement with Presto Sports, we're setting up your accounts over the next few days, and so we'll be reaching out to you. But really, within a week, you should have your account set up in Scoreshots, and then the integration is rolling out in June of this summer, with additional enhancements coming over the following month. So next week we have a webinar on May 6th. Very excited about that. There's nothing sales related in it whatsoever, but Dr. Kiki Baker Barker is going to be presenting next week. So any of you who've had a chance to hear her speak in the past, really phenomenal speaker. She's going to talk about positivity and kind of how to deal with what's going on in the world around us, and how to prepare for sports in the fall, and how to be an encouragement to many others. So please be watching social media and email for that. We'll be sharing details on that, but it's May 6th, and it'll either be at 1 or 2 in the afternoon Eastern time. So again, thank you all for your time. Certainly appreciate it today, and we'll be following up. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us an email at web@prestosports.com, and we'll be happy to answer those as quickly as we can. Thank you all. Have a great day.